Today, I want to talk about a subject that is very dear to me. It's something I've been observing for years, and I'm sure it will resonate with you too. Let's talk about the habits and reflexes that poor people have that keep them in poverty without them even realizing it. You know, many people dream of becoming rich. They often ask me how to get rich. But in reality, before even thinking about what to do, you first need to stop doing what keeps you poor. I've identified 9 behaviors, 9 habits that I systematically observe in people who remain poor and that the rich avoid like the plague. And the most fascinating thing is that these behaviors are universal. Whether you're in Africa, Europe, Asia, or the Americas, these patterns repeat themselves. So let's analyze this together, point by point. I'm going to reveal these 9 things that make all the difference between remaining poor and getting rich. Let's go. First, let's talk about something very important. Living beyond your means. This is a trap that the poor constantly fall into. You know, when I see people buying things they can't afford, I'm perplexed. Look, for example, at those people who take out loans to buy cars, or even worse, those who go into debt to organize luxurious weddings. I'll tell you frankly, it's a direct path to poverty. The rich never do this. And you know why they're rich? Because they simply live according to their means. But why do the poor do this? I've identified 2 main reasons. The first is that they're obsessed with image. They want to be like everyone else. They want the same wedding as their neighbor, the same car as their cousin. Listen to me carefully. If you want to escape poverty, stop pursuing other people's goals. Set your own goals. Your goal should be to get rich, not to impress others with goods you can't afford. The second reason, and this is crucial, is that they don't understand the concept of cost of ownership. I'll give you a simple example. When you buy a car for $50,000, it's not just $50,000 that you spend. No, that's just the beginning. Then there are taxes, spare parts, gasoline, lubricants. The list goes on. So remember this. Before buying anything, always think about the total cost of ownership. That's what the rich do, and it's one of the reasons they stay rich. Secondly, the poor always try to save and save. You see, this is a huge difference in mentality. The rich, on the other hand, think first about investments. Let me explain something fascinating. When you spend your time cutting expenses, it's like a circle that's constantly shrinking. And you know what? It's almost magical, but not in a good way. The more you cut your expenses, the more your income tends to decrease as well. This reminds me of a quote from Rockefeller. This one is powerful. Don't be afraid of big expenses. Be afraid of small incomes. The rich follow this rule. They understand. See the difference. While the poor struggle to save a few euros in a savings account, the rich are constantly looking for where to invest their money. They're 2 completely different worlds, 2 opposite mentalities. I'll tell you a truth you need to understand. Nobody, absolutely nobody, has ever gotten rich with a savings account or by saving 3 cents. True wealth comes from only one thing: increasing your income. So focus on that. And the third point is the refusal to learn and develop. You know what? Poverty isn't just bad luck or injustice falling from the sky. No, in most cases, it's an indicator of certain very specific failures. Let me explain. There's pride, you know, those people who think they know everything. There's laziness, those who refuse to learn new things. And there's envy. Those people who are envious of others' success but don't want to make an effort to progress. I've traveled, observed, and you know what I noticed? In all countries, without exception, the rich have one thing in common. They're in constant development. And attention, this isn't necessarily innate in them. It's more linked to their lifestyle, their activity. Think with me. The rich are active people. They carry out many actions. And many actions necessarily mean many mistakes and failures. But here's the secret. Those mistakes and failures are the best school for personal development. In fact, this is probably the true secret of the rich. They get rich through their intense activity and the lessons they learn from their mistakes and failures. On the other hand, observe the poor. What do? They avoid risks like the plague. They don't want to learn or develop. Why? Either because of those bad qualities I talked about, or simply because they're afraid to take risks and leave their comfort zone. It's that simple. If you want to escape poverty, you need to be willing to learn, develop, and above all, take calculated risks. Fourth, what the poor always do and the rich never do is remain in the same social circle. The poor constantly do this, while the rich never do. I've observed something fascinating. Successful people are always changing their social environment. Look, this is one of the most neglected and at the same time most powerful points, remaining in the same social circle. Many people don't realize how much the environment they live in shapes their choices, their habits, and even their dreams. Think with me, if you hang out with people who only complain about life, who say that money is hard to earn, who keep repeating that this isn't for us, guess what? You end up absorbing that same thinking even without realizing it. It's like background music that plays every day. You don't pay attention, but it gets into your head. I've observed this countless times. Poor people tend to close themselves off in their circle, repeating the same conversations, the same problems, and the same excuses. And so nothing changes. It's like trying to plant flowers in dry soil. No matter how hard you try, nothing blooms. Now look at the rich. They have a completely different attitude. They know that if they want to grow, they need to be in contact with people who have already reached where they want to go. That's why they participate in events, conferences, business meetings. They're not afraid to approach, to ask questions, to learn from the best. And here's a secret that few understand. When you change your social circle, you don't just change your friendships, you also change your mentality. It's as if you expand your horizons. You begin to perceive opportunities that previously seemed invisible. I'll give you a simple example. Imagine someone who only lives with people in debt. What will be the constant subject? Debts, problems, difficulties. Now imagine that same person participating in a group where everyone talks about investments, business, and growth. Little by little, they begin to think differently. It's impossible to remain the same when the environment around you is stimulating. That's why, if you really want to get out of poverty, you need to ask yourself, who are the people around me today? Do they pull me up or drag me down? This answer can change your whole life. One of the most common mistakes that keeps so many people trapped in poverty is living only in the present, without any kind of planning for the future. It's that let's see how it goes mentality, or worse yet, I'll think about it later. I know people who spend their whole lives putting out fires. The car breaks down, they run to get a loan. A medical emergency comes up, they need to borrow money from family. The rent goes up, and then comes the desperation of cutting the basics to be able to pay. It's always a life in reaction, never in action. Now, stop to reflect. Have you noticed how the rich do differently? They don't wait for problems to arrive to act. They create plans, establish goals, prepare for what might happen. For them, every decision today is already connected to tomorrow. Want a simple example? While many live day to day without thinking about the future, the rich are constantly asking themselves, where do I want to be in 5 years? What can I do today to get there? What risks do I need to prepare to face? And you know what happens when you think like this? Emergencies decrease. Life stops being unpredictable chaos because you've already anticipated many of the obstacles. It's like driving a car at night with the headlights off. Those who live without planning only see a hand's length ahead and therefore hit every stone in the way. Those who plan turn on the headlights, see the road, avoid the holes, and reach their destination much more safely. This is one of the great secrets of the rich. They don't just live in the present, they live in the present with their eyes on the future. There's a curious pattern that separates those who remain poor from those who achieve wealth: the way they face problems. The poor have a tendency to get stuck in them, to transform every obstacle into an insurmountable wall. It's as if every difficulty were a weight that paralyzes. I've heard phrases like this thousands of times. I can't because the government doesn't help. I'll never have money because my salary is low. It's impossible to invest with so many bills to pay. These people believe their problems are bigger than any solution. And you know what the consequence of this is? They stop in time. They keep going in circles, discussing difficulties, lamenting, but without taking a step forward. Now, observe the rich. Their way of thinking is totally different. For them, each problem is like a stone in the path. It can hinder, but it can also be used to build something bigger. They ask themselves, what is this obstacle trying to teach me? Is there a hidden opportunity here? How can I turn this difficulty into an advantage? Want an example? During financial crises, many people go into despair. The poor only see bankruptcy, unemployment, falling income. The rich look at the same scenario and think, okay, if prices are falling, where can I invest now to reap the rewards when everything gets better? It's like the story of two people looking at the same storm. One sees only mud, the other sees the chance to plant in fertile soil. The difference is in the focus. While the poor are paralyzed looking at the problem, the rich move their energy to seek solutions, and that changes everything. This is perhaps the most dangerous point of all: avoiding calculated risks, blaming others, and wasting time. Three attitudes that together form an almost unbreakable block against prosperity. First, let's talk about risks. Poor people usually see risk as something to be avoided at all costs. For them, any step outside the comfort zone is already synonymous with disaster. Result, they never leave their place. Meanwhile, the rich know that growth requires risks, but calculated risks. They study, analyze, prepare, and then act. It's like crossing a river. The poor stay on the shore, afraid of getting wet. The rich build a bridge with what they have and cross. Now, think about the second attitude: blaming others. This is one of the biggest traps of the poor mentality. It's always the government's fault, the boss's fault, the economy's fault, but never their own responsibility. The problem is that when you hand over the blame, you also hand over control. If the responsibility is never yours, then the power to change will never be in your hands either. The rich understand this. They take responsibility, even in the face of failures. And precisely because of this, they manage to adjust their course and move forward. Finally, wasting time. Have you noticed how much time is spent on useless conversations, endless series, endless scrolling on the phone? Time is the most valuable resource that exists, but the poor treat it as if it were infinite. The rich, on the other hand, protect their time tooth and nail. They know that every hour can be used to learn something new, strengthen connections, or create a source of income. Think with me. If you avoid risks, blame others, and waste your time, you're blocking three of the biggest doors that could lead you to prosperity. But if you change this mentality, start taking calculated risks, take responsibility, and value every minute, the game turns completely in your favor. Now, I want you to visualize something with me. Imagine your life 5 years from now. Think about what it would be like if you applied each of these principles we just discussed. If you stopped living beyond your means, started investing instead of just saving, dedicated yourself to constantly learning, expanded your social circle, planned for the future, focused on solutions instead of problems, took calculated risks, and valued your time. Can you imagine the difference? It's as if you were building a ladder step by step that takes you to a completely different place from where you are today. And you know what's even more fascinating? Every small step you take today has a multiplying effect in the future. Make no mistake, change doesn't happen overnight. But with each conscious decision, each directed action, you're sowing wealth. Not just financial, but also wealth of knowledge, opportunities, experiences, and freedom. Think about the examples we saw. While many wait for luck to knock on the door, the rich are always in motion. They learn, try, fail, adjust, grow. And that's exactly what you can start doing now. And here's the key. Transformation begins within you. Nobody is going to get rich for you. Nobody is going to plan your future or take risks on your behalf. Everything depends on your choices, your priorities, and your commitment to your own life. Every time you decide to invest in knowledge instead of spending to impress, every time you choose to expand your network instead of remaining isolated, every time you decide to focus on opportunities instead of getting stuck on problems, you're building something that nobody can take from you, your freedom. Now, I want you to think about a very clear scene. You waking up tomorrow with a new mentality. Not just dreaming about wealth, but acting strategically to achieve it. You begin to make conscious decisions about every euro that comes in and out of your life. Before buying something, you calculate the total cost. Think about the long-term impact. Every expense stops being an impulsive choice and becomes an intelligent decision aligned with your goals. You start investing your time as you invest your money, with care, attention, and purpose. You learn something new every day. You participate in events, meet people who challenge your worldview, who inspire you to grow. Each interaction transforms into an opportunity for expansion, not just social, but financial and emotional. And most importantly, you stop blaming the world or circumstances. Taking responsibility for your life isn't just courage, it's liberating. Every challenge that appears stops being an obstacle and becomes a lesson. Every mistake isn't failure, it's valuable feedback that brings you closer to your goal. You know that feeling of always running behind the loss? It disappears. You stop living in reaction and start living in action. Every decision is strategic. Every step is conscious. Every day counts. And in the end, the transformation isn't just financial, it's mental, it's emotional. It's a feeling of power over your own life that nobody can take from you. You stop being a spectator and become the protagonist of your story. Now imagine the following. Each of these habits we talked about, living within your means, investing instead of just saving, learning continuously, expanding your social circle, planning for the future, focusing on solutions, taking calculated risks, and valuing time, doesn't work in isolation. They combine, reinforce each other, and create a multiplying effect that completely transforms your life. It's like planting a seed in fertile soil, watering it daily, and at the same time, taking care of all the plants around. Each habit is like an essential nutrient. When you apply all of them together, growth happens exponentially. The money that barely used to be enough to spare begins to yield. The opportunities that previously went unnoticed begin to appear. Your confidence increases, your vision expands, and you realize you can go much further than you ever imagined. And here's the magic. The more you practice these habits, the more natural they become. You no longer need to force yourself to be disciplined or make good decisions. It becomes part of who you are. And life then changes without apparent effort, because you've become the person capable of generating extraordinary changes. Think with me. If you start today, even with small steps, a year from now, your life will be unrecognizable to those who know you now. You won't just be richer financially, but you'll have developed an inner strength, a clarity of purpose, and a freedom that few people truly know. And you know what's most incredible? This growth has no limit. The more you apply these principles, the more you discover you can achieve. It's a virtuous cycle. Each success feeds the next. Each learning strengthens the next decision. Each connection opens doors you never imagined. Now, I want you to stop for a moment and look inside yourself. Think about everything you've already tried and the obstacles you've faced. Perhaps you've already felt trapped, powerless, seeing opportunities pass before your eyes while others moved forward. But here's the truth that few realize. Nobody can stop your growth except yourself. Each habit we discussed is a step to break these barriers. Each conscious action is a brick that builds your freedom. Each decision to take responsibility, invest in your knowledge, and plan for the future is a step away from mediocrity and closer to the life you deserve. Imagine yourself 5 years from now, surrounded by people who inspire, making intelligent decisions about money, time, and learning, transforming each challenge into an opportunity. Every small progress you make today multiplies exponentially tomorrow. That's how the rich think. And that's how you can think too if you decide to act now. Real motivation doesn't come from promises of easy wealth. It comes from the power to control your life, from the pleasure of seeing the result of your own choices, and from the confidence of knowing you're walking in the right direction. You don't need luck, inheritance, or a unique opportunity. You need consistency, courage, and the firm decision to never again let limiting habits dictate the course of your life. Think. Every decision you make today is a seed. Are you going to let these seeds fall on dry ground? Or are you going to cultivate them, water them, and nourish the soil so they grow and flourish? The power is in your hands. And here's the best part. The more you practice these habits, the more natural it becomes to get rich, grow, and achieve the freedom you've always dreamed of. Each right choice strengthens the next. Each step taken in the right direction creates momentum, and what seemed impossible before suddenly becomes inevitable. And now, I want you to take a deep breath and internalize a simple but transformative truth. The power to change your life is completely in your hands. Everything we discussed, living within your means, investing instead of just saving, constantly learning, expanding your social circle, planning for the future, focusing on solutions, taking calculated risks, and valuing your time, isn't theory. It's practice. It's the difference between remaining where you are or achieving the life you've always dreamed of. The path isn't easy, but every step you take today creates a multiplying effect in the future. Every action, however small it may seem, is a brick that builds your success. Every conscious choice brings you closer to financial freedom, personal fulfillment, and the confidence that you can achieve everything you want. So, I invite you, start now. Choose one of these habits and apply it today. Observe the results, learn, adjust, and continue. Make this a constant cycle, and remember, there's no age, there's no limitation. Those who decide to act are those who change their lives, regardless of the starting point. If this story inspired you and you want to continue receiving more content like this, stories and teachings that can transform your life, like this video and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss any opportunity to grow, learn, and achieve. Now I want to know from you, which of these habits will you start applying today to change your life forever? Right here in the comments, I want to know.